What if economic collapse doesn't happen all at once? What if it actually follows a predictable pattern, a series of stages that repeat throughout history? Most people only notice the collapse when it's already happening. But the warning signs usually appear years earlier. In this video, I want to break down the 7 stages of economic collapse. And by the end, you might just start wondering.
Stage 1. Complacency. Every economic collapse begins during a time that looks completely normal. Markets may even be rising. Employment looks strong. Consumers are spending money. Confidence is high. But underneath the surface, something dangerous is quietly building. Debt, government debt, corporate debt, consumer debt. Debt grows slowly at first. Then suddenly, it grows very fast. During this stage, almost nobody believes a crisis is possible. Anyone warning about risk is usually dismissed as negative or overly cautious, but the foundation of the system is already weakening. Stage 2, the bubble. Now we move into the second stage, the bubble. This is when cheap money floods the system, interest rates stay low, credit becomes extremely easy to obtain, investors begin chasing returns, assets start inflating, stocks rise rapidly, housing prices surge, speculative investments explode in value, and during this stage, people begin believing something very dangerous, that prices will only go up. You start hearing phrases like, real estate never crashes, the market always recovers. This time is different, but bubbles always follow the same pattern. They grow larger and more fragile until something finally breaks. Stage 3, the trigger. Every collapse has a trigger event, but the trigger doesn't actually cause the collapse. It reveals the weaknesses that already existed. In 2008, the trigger was the subprime mortgage crisis. But the real problem was years of excessive debt and leverage throughout the financial system. Once the trigger appears, confidence begins to crack. And confidence is the single most important ingredient in any financial system, because when confidence disappears, everything changes.
A quick side note before we continue. If you're trying to understand what's happening in the economy right now, especially in real estate, I put together a full real estate crash course bundle that breaks down how cycles like this work, how to analyze markets, and how investors position themselves during downturns. If you want to learn how to spot opportunities when the market shifts, check the link in the description below.
Stage 4, credit tightening. Modern economies run on credit. Businesses borrow money to expand. Consumers borrow money to spend. Banks borrow money to lend. But when fear enters the system, credit begins to shrink. Banks tighten lending standards. Loans become harder to obtain. Businesses delay expansion. Consumers reduce spending. The economy slows. Layoffs begin appearing. Financial markets become volatile. At first, it feels like a normal recession. But if the underlying problems remain unresolved, the situation escalates. Stage 5, crisis. This is when the problems become impossible to ignore. Markets become chaotic. Major institutions begin failing. Governments step in with emergency measures. Central banks intervene. Interest rates may be cut rapidly. Stimulus programs appear. Money printing accelerates. Suddenly, the financial system that once looked stable starts looking fragile. Stage 6, monetary instability. When governments respond to crisis, they often inject massive liquidity into the system. That can create a new set of problems: inflation, currency devaluation, or years of economic stagnation. When money itself becomes unstable, people begin searching for ways to protect their wealth. Hard assets, real estate, commodities, alternative financial systems. And slowly, trust in the financial system begins to erode. Stage 7, the reset. The final stage of economic collapse is not permanent destruction, it's transformation. Throughout history, economic resets have taken many forms: currency reforms, debt restructuring, entire financial systems being replaced. These resets can be painful, but they also create new opportunities. New industries emerge, new technologies rise, new economic leaders appear. Economic collapse rarely happens overnight. It happens step by step, stage by stage, signal by signal. And the biggest mistake most people make is assuming the system will always work the way it has in the past. History shows something very different. Economic systems change, cycles repeat, and the warning signs usually appear long before the crisis becomes obvious. So here's the question. Which stage do you think we're in right now? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns of the economic signals shaping the world, make sure you subscribe, because understanding the system is the first step to staying ahead of it.